how's it going, YouTube? If you look at what's going on my screen, it's a blast from the past. Spectral Throw with the Banana Seraph MTX. Doing some of the hardest content in the game, Tropical Island, 100% Deli. Well, not 100% Deli, but just the Deli mirror at the end of the map. It is harder than 100% Deli. And you can see here, it looks pretty good. It's not the best, but it gets the job done. Am I going to be recommending everyone here to play Spectral Throw? Well, if you enjoy playing a mediocre skill that's fun to play, then yeah, you can play Spectral Throw. It's not the worst thing in the world, but the build is getting entirely carried by Eternity Shroud for sure. And even then, it's unable to perform, as you can see. Like, it's okay, but the damage is just not really there. And this is with like pretty decent gear, and I'm using my old rare claws from Frostblades. In fact, if you place Frostblades compared to this with the exact same gear, almost all the pieces identical, it makes Spectral Throw looks like a child. It's pretty much child's play. The only thing that you can argue for Spectral Throw is that it has some incredible leech because it can hit so many enemies. So with the claws, you're pretty much almost invincible. So you can see here, I only have 4.1k life, and I was reserving my precision as life because I couldn't get the aura situation to work out, so I just trolling, but I still like rarely ever died because of how strong the leech is. And it really shows you that Volpack leech, old school Volpack leech, was just completely broken, because you can pretty much leech up to your full HP in 1 second with all Spectral Throw and Spectral Helix. I was using Spectral Helix as my single target, and Spectral Helix is actually not a bad skill. It does a lot of single target damage, but it's just a very bad clearing ability. So in this video, I'm going to go over my current gear, what I'm playing right now, and then I'm going to go talk about why Spectral Throw is so bad and why Spectral Helix is also so bad, and what that means for skills in PoE in general, and why some are so good and some are so bad. As you can see now, my gear is missing some sockets or gems. I don't really remember what I was using on Frostblade, so I actually looked at my old video to try to come up with what I should do. But basically, Frostblades is just in a different level compared to Spectral Throw. It's actually one of the most fun skills in my opinion. And one of the things that really sets it apart from even the Wander is the fact that Whirling Blade with Nightblade is an absolute joy to use compared to Shield Charge. Using Shield Charge compared to Whirling Blades is a horrible feeling, going from Shield Charge to Whirling Blades, or going from Whirling Blades to Shield Charge. I don't know what is wrong with Shield Charge. It literally gets stuck on every single little obstacle, and it honestly made the Wander feel a lot worse to play, even though Wanding is one of my favorite skills to use. So I was just going to switch back to Frostblades because I wanted to make the video or a guide, and it will be coming out in the next few days. I'm still working on it. But basically, I still have these two Shaper Claws. Now, the funny part is my wand is actually better than these claws. Like, these claws are T1, T1, T6, and this one is T1, 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 but chosen. So maybe I'll try to craft a really good claw for fun, but it's actually pretty hard. I don't really know how. The only way I can think about it is trying to buy a claw with the perfect prefixes, but I haven't really checked it out. So we're using these two claws at the moment, and then this one here. This is actually not too bad. This was for my Wander, right? But I did make this for my Wander, but now since I'm playing Frostblades, I probably do not need to do Pierce. I'm actually not sure how good Pierce is. Maybe Pierce is okay for clear on Frostblades, Pierce an additional target. But ideally, I probably want Strike skill, +1 Strike skill, or I can just craft on some more life. Let's see what we could actually craft on this thing. Yeah, some more life is also nice, or plus. But I think projectile is not too bad. I think Frostblade does fire out a lot of projectiles. It fires out 8 already. But +1 strike range could also be useful. Not really sure what to do. Now this amulet is actually a big deal. Now Fizz as extra lightning is actually really bad. So I probably need to go buy a new amulet now. I didn't even notice this until I was making this video. But Fizz as extra lightning. Now the funny part about this is Fizz's extra lightning is not that bad because it saps the mob, so it gives you a little bit of damage reduction from Secrets of Suffering. So maybe that's not the worst mod in the world, because if you hit something and you proc Secrets of Suffering and you afflict sap, they can deal up to 20% less damage depending on how much your ailment effect is and how big your hit is. So this amulet is technically not the best DPS amulet, but it is a bit defensive as it gives you the lightning damage needed to sap the mobs, lowering their damage done. So probably not the best still, but I will live with it. The big thing is you are able to craft effective non-damaging ailments, which is what really changes the build altogether for me. And I was able to see how much brittle and scorch I had on the mobs and bosses this time around with Frostblades. And I was pretty much at 30% scorched and 15% brittle the whole time, or above 10% brittle. And that's pretty important because if you look at Frostblades now, the skill is mostly elemental damage compared to before when you use Call of the Brotherhoods. Now, when you convert the skill 3 times from Fizz to Lightning to Cold to Fire, the chaos damage ends up being more, but because you only converted once here with Cold to Fire, it ends up being a lot less important. Like, it's still a decent chunk of your damage is chaos damage, but the bulk of your damage is still elemental damage, so that's why the Scorch is actually super important. Now, these rings, I'm using the old rings I have. So we have this Assassin's Mark ring, some Chaos Res, some Life and Mana. And then this ring here with the Accuracy. Accuracy is actually pretty hard to get. And I think this ring actually helps out the DPS a lot, because not having 100% accuracy is a horrible feeling. Now, these gloves here, I'm trying to buy the shaped gloves. I actually sold my last pair off, so I need to buy a new pair of shaped gloves. Now, this is actually not too bad because it has some resist, but this gloves is pretty much just life and strikes 2 additional nearby enemies. I was going to make a new pair, but with Maven Orbs being 4.8x, I saw some good pairs that are offline that I'll probably just pick up. And this time around, I decided to use the Headhunter. I believe the damage on Frostblades is so crazy that having a shaped Headhunter or a shaped belt is not really needed. And if you're going to juice maps, nothing beats out Headhunter, so I'm just going to use the Headhunter for now. And yeah, it does make doing the tropical islands a lot easier, and all of the juice content much easier. Now, on the same page, I was thinking that I kind of want to get ailment immunity on this build to really make it tanky and make it invincible. So I think I'm going to craft a new pair of boots with life and 35% ailment immune. And maybe I can get some resist, and I guess elusive effect would be pretty good. And then I won't need to worry about cannot be chilled, and then I can just get onslaught. Now, the way we get ailment immune is we get 35% here, 20% on the belt, 55%, 20% here for 75%, and the elegant form is 90%. And then we should have enough, right? 90%, and we can just get 10% on some jewels. And then we won't be able to get shocked, chilled, or ignited, and it should be a lot better to play, I think. Or I think you can come down here, right? And you pick up, or you can annoy Crystal Skin and you would get ailment immunity. So there's a lot of different routes. Crystal Skin is probably really good, but Panopticon is the damage increased ability. But for this build, I really want to max it out fully, because I really believe that Frostblades is the best build in the game currently, outside of Spark or Stacker. But let me just tell you, like, Frostblades clears the tropical island a lot better than the Spark character, with almost like a fraction of the investment. So that's why I believe this build is actually pretty good budget-wise, because you don't need to worry about the weapons. You can just use Shape Touch of Anguishes, and a lot of people have used it and told me rave reviews about the claw, the unique claw that is. Now for the flasks, we're using the Diamond Flask of Acceleration. I should probably have changed this. Oh no. And Bottle Fave, Taste of Hate, Chemist Quicksilver of Adrenaline, and this one to get the endurance charges, because I'm running Cast When Damage, Taken Immortal Call at the moment. Now quick links are Ancestral Protector, Ancestral War Chief, and then Anomalous Blood Rage, Flame Dash, then Fortify, Whirling Blades, Withering Step. I can probably put faster attacks here, and that'll probably make it feel even faster. And right now I'm running Enlighten, Precision, Hatred. I'm also running Herald of Ice. It's probably not a good idea. I'm probably going to run Skitterbots. Or if I really wanted to be defensive, I would run Arctic Armor, and that would probably make my character a lot tankier, and it's probably what I might do. So there's a lot of options for the links in the Frostblades. I'm running Wed, Nightblade, Cold to Fire, Frostblades, Awaken at the Cold. And I actually bought a level 6 one. It was like 11x, but Since I'm gonna max out this character, I'm gonna try to buy really good gems this time around instead of buying the bad ones. And this actually helps out a lot because we have +1 gems in our, what's it called, Eternity Shrouds. So what that means is that Awakened gems are very, very good. So that means I might buy Awakened Multi-Strike, but we'll see. Awakened Multi-Strike is like a 1% damage increase, so I don't know if it's really worth it. Now right now my tree is an abomination, so you don't want to copy this tree at all. So like if you see here, I'm making like this weird, like, what is this called, like a trapezoid shape, and this purely because I need the resist right now, so I'm doing some weird pathing. But I will fix the resist probably with the gloves or with the boots or even the rings. Because last time I did this build, I didn't have to worry about the resist as much because I did not wear a headhunter. So maybe I'll even get a headhunter with all res. You never know. Now I don't need to buy the shaped headhunter. It's a lot easier. And the nice part about this build is that the tree is opened up a lot more because we don't need to go all the way up here to get the wand nodes. So when I played the Wanderer, it just felt really bad because I knew the tree was inefficient and it really limited you to do anything. Like anytime you can't even take a 2-point jewel socket point, you know that the build has some problems. I try to cover it up as much as possible by trying to blind myself that I really enjoyed Wanderer. But the fact of the matter is, the Wanderer is the definition of scuffed and someone playing the build because they like playing it. But that's a lot of things in PoE, right? A lot of builds are scuffed out there and people play it because they like the skill, because otherwise everyone would just be playing Forbidden Right totems, right? Or Spectral Shield Throw. But now I wanted to talk about Spectral Throw, not Spectral Shield Throw, and why the skill sucks. So first of all, for Spectral Throw, you want to look at the base damage of the skill, right? So the base damage of the skill tells a lot. So I don't know why Spectral Throw has a base damage of 80 to 125%, and effectiveness of added damage 80 to 125%. It just makes no sense to me at all why the base damage is so low. Now Spectral Helix does respectable damage because its damage is 250%, and this one's 250%. So you have one skill doing half the damage of the other one. And the thing is Spectral Throw also needs to use LMP and GMP for clear. So anytime you have to use like LMP, GMP, or chain for your clear, your damage on the skill is going to suffer drastically, because not only do you get like a damage less multiplier. So if you look at Awakened GMP that I have right now, let's see here, Awakened GMP, you do 26% less projectile damage. And that's in addition to the fact that you could have been using like Awakened Weapon Elemental damage to 39% more damage. So that's like a 50% more damage swing, which is just pretty much dooms the skill. And the thing about Spectral Throw is that Spectral Throw actually benefits from the fact that one projectile can hit the mob 3 times a second. So it's kind of like Spark or Ball Lightning in that sense, in that you need slower projectiles. But the fact of the matter is if you use slower projectiles, your single target is going to be completely trash, right? So the solution is that whenever you reach a boss, you have to swap gems from Awakened GMP to slower projectiles, and that's just a horrific playstyle. No one likes to swap gems in this age, and that's why the skill is bad. Now I try to counteract it by using Spectral Helix, and it actually ended up being not too bad, because Spectral Helix actually does some pretty insane damage and bounces up to 3 times. So when you like are next to the wall, this skill actually does insanity damage, and it was actually almost insta-kill Maven from when I tried it on Spectral Helix. But the problem with Spectral Helix is the skills clear is absolutely awful. Like it first off, it like goes around you and then it spirals outwards, and then like you can't really control where it goes. So sometimes it's hitting the enemy, sometimes the enemy is in the skill's dead zone. So overall, Spectral Helix and Spectral Throw are pretty much both embodiments of what is wrong with skill design in PoE. First of all, you have Spectral Throw that has horrendous mechanics in that you have to use GMP or LMP to make the clear respectable. And then it also suffers from horrible base damage for some reason that makes the skill do 0 damage and feels absolutely awful to use, because you literally are watching your bananas go through the enemy doing no damage at all. And keep in mind, this is with Eternity Shroud, right? So some of the best damage scaling in the game, and it still looks horrendous. Now, Spectral Helix, on the other hand, is a skill that's mechanically doomed, even though it has good numbers, because it has a dead zone. And the clear is really, really slow. So that's why when you have these skills are known as dead on arrival. I know some people play Spectral Helix in hardcore because clear speed doesn't really matter, and the damage of the skill is really, really good for the amount of gear you have. But for softcore, when you want a good skill, these skills are just not it, even with me trying to use Eternity Shroud on them. So it's kind of sad, right? Because I really wanted to make Spectral Throw work, and I thought that Eternity Shroud could bring you enough damage, but the results just weren't there. Like you can see right here, this is not it, right? It's just not good. And this is with full conversion. Another thing is skills that have like built-in conversion on them are really, really strong. So the reason why the Penance Brand and Lightning Arrow are really good for conversion, even Lightning Strike and Frost Blades, is because they have a built-in conversion of like 50% to Fizz to Lightning, or like 50% to Cold, or 60% to Cold. And what that means is that instead of having to use a Fizz to Lightning Gem or something like that, you could actually just use a DPS link. And that's like the same thing as using GMP instead of Awaken Wed. And that actually makes a huge difference in clear. But you can see here, this is literally Leech being showcased. And you can see the skill is playable. Like, if this is what Chris means by build diversity, then yeah, it's true. Builds are viable to do like most of the content. But it's not really a good feeling to be playing a skill that's just so bad when you could just slot in another skill gem that would do like triple or quadruple the damage. Like Frostblades is definitely a skill that has good mechanics. And that's like the main thing I think in PoE. A lot of people say, oh, we should rework some of the skills, or we should buff the skills numerically. But the thing is like skills being buffed numerically does not change the fact that its mechanics are bad. Like Spectral Helix has really, really good numbers, but mechanically it's just a nightmare to play. And I don't think Spectral Throw's mechanics are that bad if it had respectable damage, and that's just not doing damage and finally dying. But that's pretty much my 2 cents about why certain skills are OP and why Spectral Throw and Spectral Helix are not really viable skills in today's meta. Hope everyone enjoyed the showcase of Spectral Throw, doing the Shaper invitation, and then I
cannot do this yet.
did some what's it called? Some bossy on Frostblades, and you can see the difference. Mapping on Frostblades. Frostblades is probably the best skill I've played so far this league, and I have tried out a lot of different ones with a lot of different archetypes. I think Frostblades has this amazing clear, amazing single target, and it just does a lot of damage during mapping. And it was actually the best clear of Tropical I think I've had so far out of all my characters. And you can average 200 splinters without having insane gear. And I do think I'll probably maximize this character, so I'll also be making the guide in the coming days for the more budget version. I do have some pops from viewers who have like budget gear, so I'll go over how you should gear the character. But having full shaped on Frostblades is not as big of a deal again, because because most of our damage is not chaos still, and it is fire actually. So the shaped headhunter I don't need anymore, and I don't think anyone should really buy a shaped headhunter for like 2 to 3 mirrors, because if you have 2 to 3 mirrors, you could pretty much mirror 2 claws, and then you'll probably do more damage than if you had the shaped headhunter. So do not buy the shaped headhunter for like 2 to 3 mirrors. It's not a good investment. Mirror 2 claws. You can mirror my claws if anything, and you will still get more damage. Don't mirror my claws. Have someone make a good claw and then mirror it. But thanks everyone for watching. I hope you learned about why Spectral Throw and Spectral Helixes are bait skills and not good. But I hope you find more mirrors and exalts than I do, and see you next time. Bye.